Hey guys, welcome to another video, Purple Political Talk here. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at the 2020 presidential election according to the Economist forecast. So we're going to use this forecast that has a lot of different data when it comes to chances of winning, polling data, all these different things as they go on to predict the election. And we're going to analyze it and talk about what do I agree with, what do I find reasonable, and what data they are presenting. So before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. So let's get started. So for today's video, we're going to be using The Economist, which is a pretty reputable news source in the United States. It's run more like a magazine instead of like a news network. It's not like a CNN type situation. And right now, they have this forecast out so that you can find on their website. So currently, they give Joe Biden a 6 in 7 chance of winning the Electoral College, while they give Donald Trump a 1 in 7 chance of winning the Electoral College. If you turn that into percentages, that would be 85% for Joe Biden chances of winning, 15% for Donald Trump. So what is this telling us? This is telling us one big thing, that this forecast believes that Biden has a clear advantage and is the favorite to win the election. And at this point in time, I think that is definitely a fact. Joe Biden is performing very, very strongly at this point in the election. He has consistently led all throughout election season. We saw many times during this election where he really has started to lead by a bigger margin. And truly, we know that as a fact because if you look at 2016, Hillary Clinton went up and down, and there was like a lot of shifts. This election, the shifts, when we've seen them, have been very subtle. They've taken days to take into account. That's one big trend that should be favoring Joe Biden, that all the polling numbers, and we're going to see this with the chances of winning, have stayed consistent. But when it comes to chances of winning, 85% is very strong. That essentially is a 9 in 10 chance almost. Now, when it comes to winning the popular vote, Donald Trump has less of a chance here. They still count in Donald Trump when it comes to winning the Electoral College because he still does have paths to get there, although it might be a little bit more difficult. However, when it comes to the popular vote, Donald Trump's chances are essentially very slim, as they think that Donald Trump can't win the popular vote. So right now, I think that is also definitely a fact that Donald Trump is going to have a lot harder time winning the popular vote, which at this point is something he shouldn't be aiming, because that's something the Democrats have very solid stronghold on. As many of these big states, they get a lot of votes, and even in states that are trending, actually, their Republican states are trending a lot more Democratic, a lot more votes. Texas, for example, that's a big basket of votes for the Republicans in that state. And now looking at the last thing they give us at the beginning of this forecast is the Electoral College vote range. So where do they expect to do for each candidate to do in a best and worst case scenario? For Biden's best case scenario, they predict Joe Biden having 415 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 123. For Donald Trump's, they believe he would have 325 to Joe Biden's 213. Anything else in between, they believe, is in the realm of possibility for this election. And this overall tells us one major thing. The Democrats and Joe Biden's campaign have a huge advantage when it comes to this election. And there's many different things that we know how that could happen, or why we know that. So right now, I wanted to show you guys this graph that shows us the chances of winning by time, for example, of the election. So it's ever since the pandemic started, Donald Trump has been somewhat behind. March 7th was kind of early days of the pandemic. We started getting news of that. And looking at that, Donald Trump actually went up and he had a higher chance of winning. He also led throughout the end of March. However, ever since then, when the pandemic started to worsen a lot, we saw Donald Trump drop a little bit. It became more of a situation where it was actually more of a 1 in 3 chance, which is a very strong percent chance. Ever since the Black Lives Matter movement, Donald Trump has gone down. And as the pandemic worsened, we saw Donald Trump go down to levels we haven't seen incumbent presidents sit before when it comes to chances of winning. He started to narrowly go up, and that is as of recently. We're seeing him start to go up a little bit. It's nothing astronomical, but 15%, very strong. This must be worrying because at this point in time, you already have people voting early. In a lot of states, early voting has already started. So perhaps for the Trump campaign, these numbers aren't as strong as they were hoping it to be. And I would say the pandemic definitely played a role, but I think if it wasn't for this Black Lives Matter drop, where they essentially dropped 10% in less than like a day, or in less than a week, actually, rather, then the Trump campaign would be where it was now. I think maybe at worst, like best case right now, the Trump campaign could actually just be kind of parallel where they were like late May, before BLM. And truly, what happened with Donald Trump? George Floyd's death really impacted this election in the part of enlightening the Black Lives Matter movement. So at this point in time, yeah, Donald Trump's definitely behind with chances of winning. But one thing we're seeing is that consistently Joe Biden has led, maybe go up and down, give or take a couple points. However, truly not a lot. When it comes to the Electoral College, though, we're going to be seeing a similar trend. We saw they expected Donald Trump to win narrowly during like the most of March. And then we saw when he just started to go down and down, we see Black Lives Matter movement happen here. The pandemic worsened mid-July, June, which was really, truly the heart of Black Lives Matter, the big movement and everything against Trump, as well as the starting of the big death craze, if we could call it, in America about COVID-19, when lots of Americans started dying. Ever since Donald Trump has somewhat recovered, on average, they expect right now the Electoral College to go 333 to Biden, 205 to Trump. So that's something very interesting when it comes to the chances of winning, and actually looking at the events that truly happened and showing how it went up and down, being added, and then the protests and unrest in many American cities due to the decision in Kentucky about the death of Breonna Taylor and that case, that's going to impact the election. Now, looking at this graph, I think this is one of the most interesting graphs. This would be showing the results for their simulations. So they ran 20,000 simulations of possible paths to the presidency. They ran them a lot of times. These are the situations that came up. And we see here that right now they are projecting a 319 is the biggest average, where a lot of these models computers are starting to head towards 319 electoral votes victory for Biden. Now, we see other places, other parts that give Biden a pretty good chance to have a very good best case scenario. While Trump, if he does win here, they just expect it to be very narrow victory. And even in one of the lower scenarios for Biden, it's still a lot more likely than Donald Trump's best case scenario, or even his like highest peak in the scenarios. As we can see, like one of Joe Biden's average scenarios, we're currently seeing it be like where Donald Trump really does well, or where the forecast could expect it to go. And they don't think that Donald Trump really has a chance of having too big of a best case scenario. And if this election was truly down the middle, the graph would look a little bit like this, where it would be more a little bit more on the Republican side. But since this election is heavily favored towards Biden, a lot of this data, whether it is for Trump or whether it is for Biden, it shows that the Biden is definitely ahead in a lot of key states, and he's closing up the margins in certain red states, which must be very nerve-wracking for many Republicans. Now, if you take a look at the race by winners, here they show you more so you guys can see it by perspective. A lot more blue on this map. Of course, there is still those red, and there is those red chances. However, it's not something that's super likely at this point in time. Now we're going to take a look at this map, which shows us the states, who they're going in, who's leading there, and how big of a tipping point they are in this election. Now, I would say the following. This election is definitely narrowed down. We have states that are tilt that used to be in the Democratic column, and states like Florida are about to move out. At this point, we're seeing the states that are going to be the closest, according to this, is the state of Arizona, where they currently expect Joe Biden to win they have a 60% chance of victory for Joe Biden. In the state of Georgia, 60% chance for Donald Trump. North Carolina, very tight margin. Right now, they expect it to go to Biden by a narrow margin. But Donald Trump will need to win all the seats that are currently in white, all the seats that are in red. He will have to win Florida and one of these Rust Belt states to do the job to win the presidency of the United States. And at this point in time, looking at this map and the chances of winning, Donald Trump has a very strong chance of victory in the Rust Belt. 89%, or he doesn't have one. Joe Biden has a very strong one. 89% chance in Michigan. 85% chance in Wisconsin for Biden. Pennsylvania, 80% chance. These are very, very strong numbers for Vice President Biden. this shows us that this election could really come down to these states. If Donald Trump wants to win, he's going to have to win those important and crucial states. So overall, I mean, this forecast is very interesting. And we're going to also look at what the forecasts and polls look like on average. So this shows us what they forecast and then the results per polls. So this gives us like the general election polls, like when it comes to the whole popular votes margins, we could say. So here we have a very I guess strong numbers for President Trump coming. He's going up. I mean, we saw him do very horribly during this area of the election where he was ahead by actually more than 12 points. He's narrowed that margin down to where he's like at 8% behind. Again, it's not amazing for President Trump, but it's not horrible. This forecast shows us, or this model, I guess, shows us what the election could look like when it comes to the popular vote, with bringing the two situations together. And here we can see that Donald Trump hasn't even been close of getting towards Biden since the middle of the summer. And at this point in time, we're seeing Donald Trump does have a chance to catch up, and they expect him to do so, or even get like a little bit closer. On election day, they predict Joe Biden to have a 53.6% margin of victory compared to 46.6% or 0.4% for Donald Trump. And that's what we're seeing there. Overall, this forecast is very interesting and shows us one clear thing. Joe Biden is the clear favorite to win the 2020 presidential election. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. Hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.